EA Sports just dropped the covers for Madden NFL 26, and they also dropped a very little bit of info that we're going to talk about in this video. I was also down at EA last week and got to see all of the new things that are coming to Madden 26, so I will also speak on that a bit in this video. I can't get too specific on certain things because they do want to wait until the deep dives and all that stuff roll out, but I can definitely touch on some things and let you know like where the game is headed. We could talk about some of the brief info that EA let out today, and we'll look at the covers. Now, if you are new to the channel and you don't want to miss out on any important videos, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on, because pretty much every week until the release of this game, we're going to be getting trailers, deep dives, lots of information, gameplay videos, tons of stuff. You don't want to miss out on any of that, so make sure you're subbed with the bell icon on. So let's take a look at the covers. We've got Saquon Barkley gracing the cover of Madden NFL 26, which was kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. The only reason I thought maybe he wouldn't be on the cover is because maybe they didn't want to do back-to-back running backs, because I believe they've never done that before. But, I mean, after the year he had, there was no better candidate, and he wears number 26 on top of that, so why not do that? I mean, I remember back in Madden 22, I kind of felt the same way. I thought Derrick Henry should have been on the cover that year, because that's the year that he ran for like 2,000 yards, went crazy, and he was number 22, so it just made sense. They didn't do it this year, but they didn't miss the opportunity with Saquon. They even put the backwards hurdle as the standard cover, which, I mean, is pretty cool because it's one of the more unique things we've seen done in an NFL game, and it's actually in Madden as well, so, I mean, it makes sense. Now, funny enough, you'll notice that they don't have the Jags logo on the helmet, and, you know, that's really just because, at the end of the day, no team wants their logo on the cover of such a big product and looking silly, so that's kind of just, like, out of EA's hands on stuff like that. No team's gonna want to be looking silly on the cover of the game, but we all know what team he did it to, so either way, it doesn't really matter. Now, the deluxe cover is pretty cool in my opinion. I personally prefer the deluxe better. I mean, obviously the hurdle is cool, but when it comes to covers for me, I'm just more of a fan of the more kind of photoshopped, edited covers versus in-game shots. I just think for me, it looks better as a cover, but obviously they're both pretty cool. I'm sure if you're an Eagles fan, you're going to love the standard cover just because it actually happened in game. So either way, that is the cover. Now, what EA did reveal today, not much, but they did say on Twitter, they said signature QB tendencies, unique coaching schemes, game-changing weather, experience it all in Madden 26. Now that's very vague, and that's just a very few things that they actually did for the game this year, but we know just by looking at that, I mean, of course, I know what all this means because I went down there, but I don't want to get too specific yet because they asked us not to, but signature QB tendencies, just think about what that means. It's the most popular position in all of sports. What would that mean? It probably means things to do with how they throw the ball, how they release the ball, maybe mannerisms and things like that, making them look unique. Now, we know last year they kind of started doing this a bit with a lot of the major QBs, like how they walk up to the line, how they ask for the snap, you know, how they audible, making them look like their real life selves. Well, I mean, this is just them taking it a step further now. How are they going to actually play on the field? How do they run? How do they throw? That's what signature QB tendencies pretty much means, right? It really can't mean anything else. Unique coaching schemes. Now, I know what this means. I can't really get too deep on it yet, but just think of what unique coaching schemes actually mean. And this is really, in my opinion, a bigger thing for like the franchise crowd, because you're going to kind of see coaches be more like their real selves. And they've definitely said this in the past, don't get me wrong, but I think they kind of got it right this year, but we have to see when the game actually drops, because that's always the other half of it. And game-changing weather. We know weather in Madden has been an area that has been kind of lacking. I mean, they've got the standard weather, but we need better weather, and we need the weather to affect the gameplay more. So just think about what game-changing weather means. Can't wait for you guys to actually see how cool that stuff is, because you know, it's kind of those things you wish we would have had a long time ago, but now that we have it, I'm happy that it's here, and you'll see just how cool that stuff is. Now, I'm going to let you in on some more important things you need to know about Madden 26, but really quickly, I want to shout out today's video sponsor, Underdog. If you like sports and you like winning money, then you've got to be on Underdog playing their pick'em game. Basically, all you have to do is pick higher or lower on player stats, and if they hit, you can win some big money. And if you use my code RAY, R-A-Y, they'll give you up to $1,000 in bonus credit, and they give you a free play to start with. So with the NBA Finals about to start, if you sign up right now, they'll give you Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to get a single point. That means all you have to do is get 1 point, and that's it, you win. Again, use my code RAY, R-A-Y, you'll get a free play, plus up to $1,000 in bonus credit to start with. Now, I do want to speak a little more about what I saw when I was at EA. Again, can't get too specific, but what I can say is, and trust me, I'm not trying to hype you guys up here when I say what I'm about to say, because I've been doing this for a long time now, and I'm kind of getting better at seeing how things unfold, right? EA and Madden has the reputation it has for a reason. Now, I do think over the last few years, they're trying to right those wrongs of that reputation, but when you went so long without putting some of the necessary changes that the game needed, or just not doing things that you did really well on older generations, you can't really fault people for not having much confidence in the game. And even though you have been adding a lot of things back over the last few years, it's still not where people thought it should be at this time. So I get that. The other thing is, no matter how much you add, no matter how many changes, you put on paper, you still have to deliver it in the game. So you can add a bunch of cool things, but if some of them don't work properly in game, or they just weren't implemented great, it's kind of going to fall on its face there. So what I can say is, I went to EA this year way more excited to hear about College Football 26. Madden 26 was kind of just extra at this point. Even though I started my channel on Madden, I'm much more excited about college. I'm much more excited to make college content last year and this year. I went in there, I saw the college presentation on the first day, was really happy with what I saw. I was like, yes, they're building on what was already a good game in 25, adding a lot of things that people wanted that wasn't there, tweaking some of the issues that were there. We're good. We're on schedule to be another good game. Then I go in on day 2 for Madden, and I'm like, I just hope to walk away from this pleased, but let's see. And all I'll say is, I was blown away at what Madden saw. I think personally, Madden won the presentation of the 2 days. Now, again, that doesn't mean that college didn't do good. They did. But I think because Madden is just further away, or was further away, that they had a lot more things that they could do. And typically we kind of get spoon-fed stuff. Some years they do more than others, but what they showed this year, gameplay, they did a lot of good stuff, but what really surprised me was franchise, presentation, even superstar mode to a degree. Superstar mode is still gonna have a couple years before it's great, I think, but the changes they made to superstar and kind of resetting some things and taking a different path with it, I think they're doing the right thing there. But franchise and presentation by far blew me away, because they just finally added so much stuff that we've been asking for. And it really felt to me like it wasn't 1 year worth of work that went into this game. It felt like it was more like 3 development cycles that went into this game, because I just couldn't believe the amount of stuff they added. Now, again, I'm not trying to hype you up, because just because they added a bunch of stuff, we have to see how that plays when it comes out. That's what I've learned. You can add a lot of things, but if it hits the game and then it's, shallow, it's not as good as what they kind of sold it as, or if some things are just buggy and don't work right, well, it's not going to matter that much. And so that's really the big thing. And I hope that when the game comes out, that those things do work properly. But I do think you guys will be pretty happy when you see the franchise and presentation deep dives, which will be coming out pretty soon. Like I said, on paper, it sounds like a home run. It just depends on how it's actually implemented, how things are when the game is out. But if you can think of like everything that you've been wanting in franchise, or everything you've been wanting in terms of presentation, I think a lot of them are going to be there this year. If you could make a list of like your top 20 to 30 things, I think most of those things are going to be there. Now, I don't know what every single person wants, every little detail that every single person wants. Everybody wants different things, but all of the big stuff that you've kind of wanted in Madden, I mean, even going back to decades ago, things that were never in Madden, just think about what that can mean. Things that have never been in Madden that were maybe in a game years ago. Things that you've been asking for from a franchise and presentation standpoint that have never been in the game. I would say a lot of those things are in the game now. I'm not going to say every single one, but I think of almost anything you can think of. I would say at least 80% of the things you could think of, like big things that you've really wanted, they're in the game now. And I was surprised to see, because even if they would have showed half of what they did, I still would have said that's a pretty solid. That's a good amount of stuff added this year. But the amount of stuff they showed, really, like, I'm not really trying to hype it up. I want you guys just to see it when it comes out for yourselves, but it's just my honest opinion on it. I really think that, when they said, oh, this is the biggest franchise update in a decade, I know that doesn't mean that much, because there were plenty of years during that decade where much wasn't done, but they put a lot of stuff in the game this year. I mean, I think you guys are gonna be excited. If you're not, then I'm at the point where I don't know what would excite you. That's truly how confident I feel that at least the information alone will excite you. Again, seeing it in practice is the other half of the puzzle, and I've kind of grown to learn that you've got to nail that half too. You can't it's not enough to just put it in the game. It's got to all flow and work well, and it's got to matter, and I think they did a good job of making things matter, of making, this is one thing they said that I feel like I can say, is that like their goal was to make kind of every week feel unique. And that was, I think, something they've never really said before. And I think that's the right approach, because when you play franchise mode, I don't play it as much as some of you do, but I think that's where it gets boring. It's not so much just depth, but it's that every week kind of feels very similar. Yes, you're playing a different team. There's some small differences, but it doesn't feel like every week is truly a unique experience, you know, whether that be just who you're playing, how the coaches are, what you're dealing with as a team and your players, and, you know, the other adversities you might face running a franchise, right? It doesn't really feel like week to week much changes. It feels like you're just kind of going through the motions, checking some boxes, and just playing the same game, but the other team just is wearing a different uniform, right? And from what they showed, it just doesn't look like that's the case this year. It looks like everything is unique. Everybody's going to have different experiences. You're not just checking a bunch of boxes. And it kind of makes sense if you know who Josh Lumen is. I mean, they brought him back a couple years ago, and I remember when I heard him talk last year, I was like, this guy gets it. Franchise will be good sooner rather than later now that this guy's back. You know, he worked on some of the great PS2 Maddens. I believe he was the guy who did the head coach series, which we know how deep that was. Like, that's your guy working on franchise now. So, you know, if anybody knows what people wants, it's him. And year one, he did some good things, but to see what they did from year one to year two, just, I can't believe they were able to make that big of a jump. So I'm just excited for the deep dive for franchise and presentation mostly to come out, because I do think you guys are going to be super excited when you see what they've done. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I just feel really passionate about what I actually saw. And again, just really at this point, I just hope that when the game drops, it actually works as intended, because that at the end of the day is the biggest thing. Now, we did also recently just get a bunch of info about College Football 26, and if you want to catch up on that, make sure to check out this video right here on the screen.